In 1965, the murder of a 16-year-old girl horrified the entire state of Indiana. Sylvia Likens was left in the care of a woman who turned her home into a house of torture. For weeks, Sylvia endured starvation, beatings, and cruelty at the hands of her guardian, her children, and even neighborhood kids. When her body was finally discovered, authorities described it as the most terrible crime ever committed in the state of Indiana. This is Sylvia's tragic story. Sylvia Likens was a lively teenager, full of energy and dreams. But her parents, carnival workers, left her and her sister in the care of Gertrude Banaszewski, a seemingly ordinary mother. No one could imagine the nightmare that would follow, or how one town's silence enabled a brutal crime. At first, life in the Banaszewski household seemed normal, but soon, abuse began. Gertrude, overwhelmed with her own struggles, started targeting Sylvia. What began as small punishments turned into starvation, beatings, and psychological torture. Gertrude's own children joined in, encouraged to mock, hit, and harm Sylvia. Shockingly, even neighborhood kids were invited to participate, treating Sylvia's suffering as entertainment. She was locked in the basement, denied food, and subjected to burns and humiliation. On October 26, 1965, Sylvia succumbed to her injuries. The autopsy revealed severe malnutrition, brain swelling, and multiple wounds across her body. Her final words were chilling. "I'm going to die, I can tell." And she was right. When Sylvia's sister Jenny finally spoke to police, the horrific truth came out. Authorities discovered a crime scene filled with evidence of systematic torture. Neighbors admitted they had heard screams, yet most had stayed silent. Gertrude Banaszewski was arrested along with several of her children and neighborhood accomplices. The trial revealed shocking details. Kids had been ordered to burn Sylvia with cigarettes, beat her with belts, and carve words into her skin. Jenny's testimony, supported by autopsy photos, painted a chilling picture of calculated cruelty. Gertrude was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. Several accomplices also faced charges, though many received lighter sentences. The case shocked America with its sheer inhumanity. The murder of Sylvia Likens raised disturbing questions that still haunt society. One theory focuses on psychological control. Gertrude's authority was so strong that her children, and even neighborhood kids, were manipulated into acts of cruelty they may not have committed otherwise. Another angle highlights the failure of community. Neighbors admitted to hearing Sylvia's screams, yet they did nothing. Fear, apathy, and denial allowed her suffering to continue. Some argue it was a system failure. Foster arrangements were poorly monitored, and no authority checked on Sylvia's welfare. Her parents had trusted Gertrude, but oversight was non-existent. The case also sparked debates on the nature of evil. Was Gertrude mentally ill or simply sadistic? Scholars also point to mob mentality, where ordinary children were drawn into cruelty because others were doing it. Ultimately, Sylvia's story is less about one killer and more about how an entire community's silence enabled the unimaginable. Gertrude Banaszewski was sentenced to life but was shockingly paroled in 1985 after serving just 2 decades. She changed her name and lived quietly until her death in 1990. Her release caused outrage, as many believed she never deserved freedom. The Sylvia Likens case became a turning point in discussions about foster care and child protection laws. Memorials were created in her honor, ensuring she would never be forgotten. Her story inspired films and documentaries, such as An American Crime, keeping her memory alive. To this day, it remains one of the darkest crimes in American history, used in classrooms to study sociology, psychology, and the dangers of unchecked abuse. Sylvia's legacy is a haunting call for vigilance. Sylvia Likens' death was not just a tragedy, but a mirror reflecting humanity's darkest side. How could neighbors ignore her cries? How could children be led to participate in such cruelty? Her story reminds us that silence in the face of abuse can be as destructive as the act itself. For the small town where it happened, the scar never healed. For the world, it remains a chilling lesson in responsibility.